Okay, it's 7:02, so we will start. This is the Community Preservation Committee meeting for January 21st, 2026. It's a hybrid meeting. It's being recorded. We're not live, but we're being recorded. So just a reminder, or whatever you want to say is going to be recorded. We have Andrew Samarco remote, and Linda Stein, Bartlett Harvey, Carol Mueller, Sam Bell, and Jeff Yates are in-house. And we have John Folsom and Dave Barr from Clean Lakes in the audience. And Tim Pearson is joining us for the Conservation Commission for the projects coming up. So first on the agenda is administrative news. There's one news item from the coalition. They have hired a director of advocacy and research. So it's what they say is to lead legislative strategy at the State House and advocacy to try to get some more money for the state match fund, which is good news. It's something they've wanted to do for a while. So it'll be interesting to see if they can help grow the CPA program at the state level, which would be great. We didn't have minutes. I didn't hear from Mitt, and he's not here yet, so we'll have to do those for next time. Any members have anything to enlighten us?
I think all I have is we could probably do in the pipeline section.
Okay. Public input. I think our public is here for the next section. So why don't we head right over to the 4 projects that the conservation people have brought forward on behalf of Clean Lakes. Tim, how do you want to do this? I'll let you kind of figure out where you want to start.
I'm kind of new to these meetings. Does it make the most sense to kind of give an overview of what we're asking for?
Yeah, if you want to, do you want to do each project separately? Because we'll have to vote on each. We'll have to vote on the eligibility and the applications. So if we want to just kind of, I don't know if there's an overall talk about it, or do you want to just start at the first project?
I can kind of give 2 overall talks, one about herbicide use and one about the lake management plans. Okay. Probably makes most sense to start talking about the lake management plans, and because the herbicides, it feeds into that. So it's important. We don't have existing lake management plans for Long Lake and Forge Pond. The water department had a lake management plan put together in 2025 for Spectacle Pond, and it's really good practice to have those lake management plans in place so that we can accurately monitor the health of the water body and the water quality itself. So when we get it, I'll get into the applications in a minute, but I've got the items listed out one by one in the lake management plan of what we're looking to have included in them. And they match almost identically to the Spectacle Pond management plan that was put together last year, with the exception of Spectacle Pond has the water department has a well over there. And so they have a part of their lake management plan is a monitoring program to make sure that the herbicides there are not having any effect to the well. So kind of going hand in hand with the lake management plan is why we're also requesting funds for herbicide use. So it was many months ago where we met with DCR Lakes and Ponds Division to talk about our fight with the aquatic invasive species at Forge Pond, Long Lake, and Spectacle Pond. And through talking with them, their experience is that the use of what we had been doing, eco-harvesting and other mechanical removals, didn't quite have the effect that herbicide treatments did. And so after hearing that from the professionals, we thought it would be in our best interest to transition kind of back towards herbicide use. So that's why we've requested the herbicides in addition to the lake management plan.
Any questions for Tim before we get to specifics?
Well, general question is, has a study or will studies be done about any negative impacts of herbicide use on the environment, water, people?
Outside of what's requested in the lake management plan?
I don't know what's in there exactly. I don't remember what.
We are testing water quality. We're not specifically testing for the herbicide itself like they are at Spectacle Pond. So improper use of herbicides can lead to accelerated eutrophication of the lake. And that's what creates those muck islands that exist over at Long Lake. And I think there might be a couple at Forge Pond as well. After talking with DCR, they said that the best way to go about doing the herbicide treatments is to not just nuke the lakes, but to either do only a portion of the lake at a time, like per year, or to break it up into multiple treatments, smaller treatments being done throughout each year.
Well, I guess my question remains, can these herbicides have a negative impact on wildlife, plants?
Other vegetation.
Right.
I don't have the knowledge to attest to that. I just took what DCR recommended as, listening to the professionals. It's what they use to manage the majority of the invasives that exist in their. I think they manage over 200 lakes in the Commonwealth. So we figured it was just, we kind of assumed that's best practice based off of their recommendation.
The state's a huge proponent these days of using herbicides, as Tim mentioned, for water bodies. And the herbicides that they're using nowadays, they don't have like the PFAS chemicals like back in the day. They're a lot safer in a lot of ways. So the state is certainly comfortable using them. And
what is the current herbicide proposed?
We are kind of leaving that up to the professionals, right? So when these treatments go out for get put out as RFPs, we would take, whether it's Solitude, Water and Wetland, or another professional, we would take their judgment, since they are the herbicide the licensed herbicide applicators. We would take their suggestions, because each in aquatic invasive is best treated by a specific herbicide, right? It's not like there's one herbicide that best treats them all. I'm sure we could do some research to find that out, but I don't have that information in front of me right now.
Okay. Do you think DCR has like reports on that kind of stuff? I mean, they must have a ton of reports.
They definitely named all the herbicides that they treat for each individual aquatic invasive species during one of our meetings with them. I can't remember them off the top of my head.
But we could.
I don't want to belabor it, but DCR must have reports on potential impacts or no impacts of these herbicides on the ecology. So
yeah,
I'm interested in seeing those reports.
Yeah, they have. They actually just put out this year. It's the newest rendition of their GEIR. It's like the I can't remember the acronym. It's basically their guide to lake management. And I would imagine that information would be in. I think it's like a 200-page document. I believe that information is within that that version that got issued this year. Or
Okay,
sorry, 2025.
Thank you.
And you said that we've done the management plan for Spec Pond. what gets done with that? I mean, is that, who monitors that? Is that a conservation thing or a water fund, a water department?
Yep, that's a good question. The water department is the one who currently receives that data. So the water department has the interest with their well over there, and so they are funding and managing everything relating to Spectacle Pond. So part of the lake management plan is a final report. It's like a findings report where all that information from the that's within the lake management plan is provided at the end, and they are the ones that received it for Spectacle Pond.
So for the, for Forge Pond and Long Lake, would that be them as well, or is that coming to you to?
I think it would probably go to both.
Well, okay. And does Clean Lakes, will you guys use that as well, or?
Yes,
What do you
I mean,
see your process being in this?
So the lake management plans really serve two purposes. One is to gather information about the state of the lakes, to understand really what is currently happening and what the issues are, what needs to be addressed. And the other part is reviewing all of that information and based on experience and expertise, making recommendations about prioritized actions that can be done to improve the ecology of the lakes. And that's as important to us as the data gathering, the status, the state of lakes.
So you can kind of come up with a long-term, short-term and or long-term plan of what.
That's a big thing that we want to get out of it, right?
We've had prior meetings where you guys brought this up, and is this to get a I believe, I don't know if that's what you call it, for the lake management plan, is that what this supersedes, or?
That's what this is, that's what
Okay.
this is addressed.
There's not two different?
No.
Yeah.
No, we had it in our 5-year budget, and it was brought into this coming year as a priority, and the suggested funding for it was through CPC.
The other question I had is about Forge Pond, and are we doing the whole lake? Are they participating in costs, or how does that work?
In Westford.
So, we've presented, CPC funding requests, applications. We went to their needs session, last month for both, herbicides for this summer and for the, engineering H&H, hydraulics and hydrology study, for the possible, drawdown improvements, which were suggestions from this group, which we thought was a good idea. We got to go ahead to provide funding requests, funding applications. So we're going in early next week to present both of those to them. So the funding received from each town would be used on that part of the lake.
So when we talk about herbicide treatment of Forge Pond, is that just on the Littleton portion of the lake, or on the entire lake, or?
So, like I said, one of the two requests we are making to the Westford CPC is for $20,000 for herbicide treatments on Forge Pond for this coming summer. And that funding would be used on the Westford side of the lake, and funding from Littleton would be used on Littleton side of the lake.
Okay.
So I think I might have asked this at a previous meeting. If Westford ends up not approving that, does that sort of negate what we would do in Littleton?
Well, obviously it's best to treat the lake as a whole, right? Last year, there are two possibilities. An outside organization could help fund that. Last year, the committee approved using $20,000 of our eco harvesting entitlement to do herbicide treatments on Forge Pond. And because of the bidding and contracting situation, we were not allowed to use that funding last summer. Friends of Forge Pond stepped up and offered to do treatments on both sides of the lake, funding both of them. Not as big a treatment as what might have been done otherwise, but something, right? And by the time, there were issues, Westford required an additional, like fourth, Conservation Commission hearing before that could be scheduled. And then once that was cleared, working with the vendor, and the vendor's schedule had in the process moved out, and the treatment wasn't going to be able to be done until the middle of August, which is really not a useful time to do it. The plants are already, starting to fall down at that point. It's not very productive for the eutrophication point of view, and it's not really useful from a recreational point of view. So we didn't do that. But it's possible that either like somebody like Friends of Forge Pond could decide that they could step in and do something for Westford, or it's possible that the Westford side wouldn't get treated.
So if Westford does come up with the money, it would be one contract that you doing? I mean, one vendor, one contract to do the whole lake, and if Westford doesn't pay, then it's only the Littleton part of the lake. Is that right?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
I mean, when we've done the last couple of, we had two small eco harvesting treatments that weren't really enough for us to understand how well it works. And what the real effects are. On those, we had a single contract that was funded equally by both towns. And just also, since I'm talking already, to also add to what Tim said about the, you were asking about the side effects of the herbicides. So on Forge Pond, we have 12 herbicides that have been approved to be used, and the EPA reviews potential herbicides that could be used for aquatic plants, and Massachusetts Department of Agricultural Resources also does, and they each decide which herbicides are both effective and safe. And the MADR doesn't recommend any that aren't already approved by EPA. And so the herbicides that we'd be using are approved by both. And so they've been shown to be effective and to have minimal side effects on fish, other animals and plants, and algae and the ecology of the lake. Like Tim said, both the old GEIR and the latest version of that, which are produced by Massachusetts, environmental departments, list for each of those approved herbicides what effect they have on the different invasive species that are found in Massachusetts. And, is a very effective, somewhat effective, not effective. And so those guidelines, as well as the experience of the vendors, is used to determine what would be used on a given given area. There's also differences in terms of how quickly they work and how long they last, even on the same plants. So those are all factors.
On the management plans, how long are they good for? I know it's to take a snapshot at this particular time, but
Spectrom had an old plan that was, I think, 25 years old.
oh wow. Okay. But that's probably not ideal, but
Right.
I think you wouldn't want to exceed that,
Yeah.
just because it's not current technology, current understanding of impact, or what have you. But those plans go on to say they address the watershed. We used somewhat the same sort of research 25 years ago now with the Long Lake Restoration Project, where Geosyntec analyzed storm drains, how they ran, where they entered the ponds, the impacts that they were having, and actually recommended retention basins like at the wetland park to address some of those silting issues and so on. So it's very beneficial.
So
In your time on the Clean Lakes Committee or Forge Fund, how many times have they used herbicides in the past?
We've used herbicides on Long Lake for decades.
In Forge Pond, we haven't used them in 40 or 50 years.
with the lake management plans, most of the items that are within the one that we're requesting funding for are items to determine baseline data for the health of the water body, and determine what is needed for these water bodies going forward. Something like the water quality assessment, which is one of the items in the lake management plan. That's something that can be, the water quality can be monitored. It's probably best practice for it to be monitored every year. But a lot of those other things like determining fish populations and bathymetry, those don't have, they're not necessary to be done on an annual basis.
Any other general questions? You have a general statement? Okay.
So just to let you know, for the lake management plans, we ideally, we feel pretty strongly that in the process of doing that, we should also be assessing the watershed for the lakes. And that was has been discussed on an ongoing basis, but it seems that the feasibility of including that additional funding for the that's not in the line items that are currently in the request. Presumably, it wasn't feasible to, given the levels that were agreed upon, to include those. The state points out that for lakes that have watersheds larger than 10 times the lake size, you are not able to do anything effective about managing the lake without considering the watersheds. And I'm not exactly sure how much, what the ratio is for Long Lake. It might be within that because it's, got its own bowl there, right? Forge Pond, on the other hand, the watershed is 70 times the size of the lake. and it goes, all the way up to, Foxborough. So it definitely, should have the watershed assessed and included in evaluating what the reasonable, productive, options are for managing it. So, we'll have to look at how we would manage that. So it's not in this request, but it's something that we feel is important for the larger watersheds like Forge Pond for sure.
Yeah, we've been lucky in Beaverbrook and Forge Pond with 195 processed it twice and 119 that we've never had a major fuel spill or chemical spill off those roads.
Very true, very true. Worry about that. The big problem at Long Lake, because it changes over so slowly, takes about 3/4 of a year to refresh itself. And remember years ago, one of the residents backed their car into the water and lost control. And you just grit your teeth and try to clean things up as quickly as possible. Has a long lasting impact.
So if there aren't any other general questions, why don't we go through the applications? Tim, I want to do like the lake, like Long Lake plan and then the herbicide treatment and do one lake at a time?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, before we start, I just want to remind everyone about balances. So these are all open space projects. If we have right now between what we've already approved, which was the drawdown assessment for Forge Pond, that was 20,000. The 4 projects we have here tonight, that would be 158,000 that we'll be spending for lake projects. And there's still one more, the Hartwell terrestrial invasive species, which we'll probably get to next meeting. So I don't know if we don't really have an estimate for that. Is that going to be like under 50,000, you think, Tim? Or do you have any idea?
I would imagine. Yep. We also have 2 other applications that are going to be coming in for the next meeting for boardwalks at Webster Woods and Castle on the Trees.
Yeah, so those are recreation. So all the lake ones are open space. So we'll be spending close to $200,000 on lake projects if these all go through. Our balance at the end of June, the end of last fiscal year, was shade under 400,000 for open space, and we get another 36 for the state match. So we, $500,000. 500. With some little dribs and drabs. So that's where we stand right now. So we certainly have enough in open space, but we also have the undesignated bucket for 285. So we could take some money from there too if we wanted. So that's what they need to be mindful of. Yeah, go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, before we dive into these, I just want to make a note. Conservation Commission did meet last night and reviewed these applications and came to a consensus that we should increase our funding request by about by 3,000 for each of these items to make sure we're not cutting ourselves too close. And then we have to come back to CPC to request more money.
Oh.
So the 3 items that are 32,000, we'd be requesting 35,000 for, and then the 42,000 we'd be requesting 45,000 for. So it's an additional $12,000 cumulatively with all 4 of these applications.
All right, so that definitely puts us at about 200,000 for lake, just for lake projects. So why don't we start with, I don't know, Tim, do you have a preference, Long Lake or Forge Pond, or?
Either one. Yeah, either one works.
Let me start with Long Lake since that's my favorite.
Sure. All right, and we want to start with the lake management plan?
Yeah, why don't we do that?
Okay. So we're requesting 35,000 for the lake management plan. And the lake management plan that we're going after consists of multiple things. It's a bathymetry survey to get a baseline depth of the water body that we can use for historical tracking purposes. Water quality assessment so we can keep track of the levels of phosphorus, the dissolved phosphorus, total nitrogen, pH, oxygen, and a couple other things as well that aren't listed here. Fish community assessment, which is again another baseline data item that we can use for monitoring over a period of time. Aquatic plant mapping, so that's not just invasive species, but also the native species as well. Again, baseline data that we can use for historical tracking purposes. Sediment analysis. This is also important because you're not going to get the same levels of like phosphorus that are in the water. That they may be different than the levels that are in the sediment. We're also going to be testing for things like iron and manganese in the sediment as well, which all impact water quality. We're going to have, or we're looking to have a hydrologic and nutrient budget determined so we can understand how much phosphorus and nitrogen the pond is receiving and can efficiently process. And recommendations are going to be prepared in the findings report to determine what is best practice going forward to deal with these levels. So all that information will actually be provided within the findings report that is compiled and sent over in the end. And so the lake management plan for Long Lake is it's a carbon copy of the one that we're requesting for Forge Pond as well.
If these management plans are accomplished, how does that work with the herbicide? I mean, would you do the herbicide anyway, or does it inform your use of herbicides? Or I guess it wouldn't this season?
Because part of that plan would be comprised of sort of like final chapter where going forward, this is how you can accomplish your goals. And herbicide treatments and eco harvesting would certainly be two items that would be worth considering.
But they wouldn't be, but I'm talking about this year. Would the reports be available to accomplish,
Prior to herbicide treatments? No, I doubt it.
Okay, so we would be doing the herbicide treatments just out of.
So
Yeah,
I would think that, so we can't spend these allocations until July 1st, even though they're not really fiscal year. We have 3 years to spend them. They're approved hopefully in May. But apparently we can't actually start spending them until July 1st. Is that right?
Well, if we vote from the reserve because we have the money, then they are available right away.
Okay.
Which we just make sure that we do that.
Yeah. So we, as part of the herbicide treatments, we would be doing plant surveys early in the summer. We would want to be doing the herbicide treatments in June. So we'd be doing the plant surveys in late May or early June. So my suggestion would be that we use those plant surveys, and if we need to, we can bulk them up to if we need additional information there that for the management plan that we wouldn't necessarily need for the herbicide plan, so that we have that early plant survey. I think the plants are going to be what's really going to be affected among these different line items. from the herbicides. So if we get that done before we do the herbicide treatments, then doing the other things after that, I don't think will make that much difference. That might give us some extra money in the budget, in the management budget, to be doing more with watersheds.
So before we start voting, do we want to do anything with the undesignated? I mean, do we want to like fund the management plans out of undesignated and the herbicide out of open space? Just do it all out of open space? We have some kind of-
This go around, I'd probably say the management plans and the herbicides, take it out of open space, and then when we come back for the recreational ones, I would take that under undesignated, just so it doesn't impact the recreation bucket.
Well, I have a concern about the open space bucket.
Yeah.
Because it's a big chunk and there may be opportunities coming up that
Right.
we can't, you know, so. But on the other hand, couldn't that also be undesignated, be used for that purpose?
Yeah.
So what are the advantages and disadvantages of using the undesignated?
I guess I mean, if we want to think of open space as also purchasing land, you know, sometimes it's easier for us to think about.
Well, I think that's what
land.
most people think.
Yes, rather than taking care of the lakes. That's why I wondered if we wanted to take some of the lake management stuff from the undesignated bucket, so that if we do have open space project, we can call it open space. Which was kind of how I was thinking, but.
That works too. Yeah, I mean, whatever the committee's comfortable with. Yeah, I think that works as well.
I think so, one half dozen of the other. It's just kind of how we manage it. Just thinking accounting, you know, for the accounting department, if they see something land come through, you think open space. So do we want to, I mean, the dollar amounts are all similar, and then we'll have another herbicide treatment come through. So let's see, herbicides are like right now at 80,000, the management plans are at 70. I think we just have to like. So it's whether we want to not take 70,000 out or not take 80, or I mean, we could take anything. You know, trying to think to be nice and neat, or just be arbitrary.
So when you say the management plans are 70, that's for all?
But both of them.
Both of
Yeah,
them.
they're both 35 now.
Seems like a viable way to do it. Maybe take the management plans out of undesignated.
Okay.
Guess I'd make a motion to do that.
All right, so first of all,
First we have to go through.
vote on the
we have to go
eligibility.
through
Yeah,
each
we have to go
project.
through it. But us bureaucrats. Let's see. So if we go to the Long Lake Management Plan eligibility. Like Tim said, they're pretty much the same. I should have put this on a stack. Let's see.
What if we just took the 80 out of undesignated and the 70 out of open space?
Do like all the herbicides out of
Yeah, that's all more out of undesignated.
undesignated?
Sounds good.
Good. So the Long Lake Management Plan eligibility request is open space. It's now going to be 35,000. Project, it's an asset of the town of Littleton. Of course, they give their okay, and the verbs for open space they've checked off are preserve and rehabilitate and restore. So I think we've talked about these enough to know if they're eligible projects or not. So do we want to vote on the eligibility request for the Long Lake Management Plan?
I'll make a, sorry.
Go ahead, Andrew.
I'll go ahead and make a motion that the committee deem the Long Lake Management Plan for 2026 an eligible project under the open space category.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We'll do a roll call since Andrew is, is there? Linda,
Yes,
Bartlett,
Yes.
Carolyn's a yes, Sam,
Yes,
Jeff, Andrew?
Yes.
Great. And then we will go to the funding request. Long Lake. So this is for the Long Lake Management Plan funding. For 30. Forge Pond. Okay. We have a motion for that one?
but they want to add 3,000, right?
Yeah, so
That-
we'll,
That includes, the 35 includes the 3,000.
yeah, but that we'll have to have, Tim, we'll have, if you don't mind, if you can update the applications to the 35, because
Sure.
whatever, I'll just say pending,
Existing too.
receiving amended applications, so that's not a problem.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so we want to include that in our motion that we will be receiving updated plans and also out of the reserve bucket. So somebody want to make a motion?
I move we approve the,
Funding requests, funding
the
application.
funding request for the Long Lake Riverside.
No,
No.
long
No.
plan, management.
Oh, I thought already did that.
That was the eligibility, now we have to do the
Oh,
funding.
okay. Then
That's all right.
I move that we approve the request for the Long Lake Management Plan
For 35.
for 35.
435. Pending. What did I say? A contingent, no, not contingent.
amended.
Pending receipt of corrected,
Updated.
updated. Updated
The
application
Application
for,
for cost.
for cost. From the
Open Space Reserve.
reserve.
I second it.
First and second, Linda,
Yes,
Bartlett,
Yes.
Jones, a yes, Sam,
Yes,
Jeff,
Yes.
and Andrew.
Yes.
We have a,
Oh, yes.
I was just trying to mention before you.
Oh, sorry.
And I don't think it matters probably, but the line items in the request should be understood as reasonable amounts that specifically apply to developing the total amount, right? The actual amount spent on individual parts of it might be different depending on, right? So there's flexibility there,
Okay, yeah,
but the total would be.
the total is, yeah, okay. Okay, so there's Long Lake Management Plan. So do we want to do the Long Lake eligibility for the herbicide treatment?
sure.
So again, Long Lake herbicide treatment, open space, which we'll take from undesignated, it's $45,000 now, plus 60 town of Littleton. And this is to rehabilitate or restore. Is this correct? Any questions on eligibility, or we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that the committee deem the Long Lake Herbicide Treatment Project of 2026 as an eligible project under the open space category.
I second.
Okay, motion by Andrew, second by Sam. Linda,
Yes,
Bartlett,
yes.
Jones, a yes, Sam,
Yes,
Yeah.
Jeff, Andrew.
Yes.
Okay. And now the application. Again, kind of the same spiel. We want to make sure it's undesignated, the undesignated reserve, and for 45,000. Pending receipt of the updated application. Anyone want to stumble through a motion?
I'll make a motion that the committee approve the funding request from the Conservation Department to fund the 2026 herbicide application at Long Lake from the undesignated reserve category of funding
For
for
45.
45,000, sorry,
pending,
pending receipt of an updated application for funding.
we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion by Andrew, second by Bartlett.
Yes.
Oh, and question,
Just a couple of things that I think are kind of important. So in the first place, there's a misprint on the budget part of the application. It doesn't say 42, it says 32, but that should be 40, well, in this case now 45. Right?
That's
yeah.
something that we'll include in the revised application, the correction there. Yep.
Of course, sure, but just so there were.
Yeah.
We would also like to suggest that instead of having the terminology in the request be for herbicide treatments, it be for plant mitigation treatments. So we had a meeting last summer after Long Lake request to reallocate some funding for eco harvesting and bog removal to ask to use that for herbicide treatments. The decision was no, it couldn't, because it was specifically stated as just herbicide treatments. And a few weeks later, we had a meeting with you to discuss this, and the suggestion was be very specific about what the problem is and be clear about what is going to be done, but give yourself flexibility in terms of what you might have to do. So depending on a number of things in terms of what's available, what timing is, what we would like to be able to either use it for herbicides or physical harvesting, depending on what is the situation on the ground at the time we want to do it. And so it would be one of those things, but by phrasing it as plant mitigation rather than just herbicide, we don't box ourselves in the opposite way that we did last time. So that would be one request. The other suggestion is that, you want to talk about that first?
Well, I was just gonna say, Andrew and Tim, that would kind of change your application. Is that something you'd need to go back to Conscom with first?
Yeah, so that wasn't on the dredging or eco harvesting wasn't on the table with Concom when this was discussed. I can't really see that being an option for Long Lake this go around. I get Dave's point, where he's coming from. The last application was submitted for Forge Pond. It was very narrow and kind of boxed out certain opportunities. But I think in this instance, it'll be herbicides. And if that needed to change, Concom would certainly have to, take that into account and see if that would be the most proactive and permittable options, just because the state's very particular with dredging projects these days.
Is that something that Clean Lakes would want to speak to conservation with before we move forward?
Well, no, it just, Dave and I were talking about this earlier, and it's a situation where you can imagine if not all the monies were used this year,
Yeah.
we might like to apply those to the same approach in the future, but maybe in fact, after we get our permits and everything else in place, it would be eco harvesting. It may be a different treatment altogether that's recommended. It's not specifically herbicide treatment. And it happens, say, a year later. We have a couple of $1,000s left over, perhaps, or something like that at one lake or another. And it just, this sort of specific explanation of what we're trying to request funds for, but also a more generic or more flexible approach to how those funds could be used at a future date or for a different, application, for example. Thing we'd like to see more.
Both of those treatments have been approved by Conservation Commission already.
Right, but they were specifically looking at these applications.
Yeah,
Yeah, and Dave and John, I completely agree 100%. I just think we might, in this instance, have to bring it back to Concom if we wanted to perhaps include that. Tim, do you kind of feel the same way about that?
Yeah. I wouldn't feel comfortable changing it, since they already gave their general approval and voted on
So
their
when
approval.
is your next ConsCom meeting that you could look at this change?
Let's see. February
Should be February 3rd, I believe.
3rd. Yeah.
I think it's a reasonable request. It gives them more flexibility. I don't think it's outside the scope. I think it's a good request. So I would suggest the ConsCom review the new language.
Yeah, I would be in favor of putting the flexibility in our motion and letting the Clean Lakes and Conscom work out the details.
We could say,
I mean, we're
could
not
say-
experts in any of that stuff. So we can leave it to the people who are involved.
What about the date? Should we also change that because it says on the request 2026?
And that's where I was gonna get at, Jeff, was the timeline that I put together for this application was for all those funds to be expended in this current year, calendar year.
right, and that was my other suggestion, was that the schedule be taken as a potential schedule, as a reasonable schedule, but not a hard and fast schedule, and that depending on what the conditions on the ground are, depending on how much needs to be spent this year, depending on what they find in terms of how many plants there are and the timing and that kind of thing, to have the flexibility that it, doesn't have to be spent just in the schedule here. I mean, the funding is available for several years.
could we approve it tonight saying pending ConsCom approval
I would rather just
not?
push it off and let them
Yeah.
rework their applications. I mean, to me, those
Yeah.
are pretty
Yeah,
So,
different.
if you could wrestle about the date and the
Scope, really.
flexibility of.
The approach, maybe.
Yeah.
I'd say.
The eligibility is done, so that's fine. I mean, this type of project, I mean, I don't think that's gonna appreciably change, so we can have that and we'll just put the application on hold pending. And I mean, you do have, a couple months before, if you don't get to it at your next ConsCom meeting. Yes, John.
We certainly don't want to throw a wrench in the works or anything here. We are grateful that you're considering these. But it's just, we have history now where we've had this discussion with the committee and I think we took it to heart. We were frustrated last year with delays that prevented us from doing any kind of herbicide treatments at all.
Yeah,
Just from a scheduling standpoint.
well, I think that's why I'd rather have you iron it out. It's not our application, it's.
Precisely, it would be all
conservation.
on
So
our responsibility.
the other thing I was thinking of, I don't want to get into having to reallocate money already allocated. I mean, we did do that once and it was fine, but I don't want to have to do that every year because that's kind of a accounting nightmare too. Andrew?
Yeah, so Tim, if you're comfortable, these are your applications. We can certainly add this to the next ConCom agenda, February 3rd, and have the commission, consider making the application broader, including, the possibility, just, in the rare occasion that we did have to kind of veer to a different method for control.
And I would invite Lakes in to give you that, what they're thinking of. Or at least have representatives there.
Yeah, I think that makes the most sense.
Okay. All right, so we'll put the application on hold, but the eligibility is, we deeming it eligible. So that's for Long Lake. So why don't we go to Forge Pond? We'll probably do the same thing, right? We have the eligibility for the management plan, which I think was like you said, Tim, was basically the same, same
Carbon
language.
copy. Yep.
Carbon copy. Do we have a motion for Forge Pond?
Before we,
Mhm.
the Forge Pond is still confusing to me. Because of the contribution
Mhm.
of Westford. And I just still am confused. Because the Westford, the management plan seems like it's gotta be. I mean, you gotta involve Westford. I mean, the whole pond is, and I personally do not think that Littleton should pay for the whole thing, so that's my concern. Although I think it's necessary. Now, when it comes to their herbicide treatment, I mean, you could literally just do the, you know, the Littleton part. That doesn't bother me.
Mhm.
But then there's this also issue of unspent money from last year, how that goes into this. I mean, for the herbicide treatment.
Mhm.
So would that be docked from your request? If
Well,
you
but
use that?
you-
Yeah.
So, Jeff,
No, well, I'm talking about the
You're
management,
talking
but then I'm
about-
talking about herbicide. I think the herbicide thing can be sort of a Littleton specific thing if it needs to be.
Yeah,
But the management plan really needs to be with Westford.
yeah.
so the herbicide, the original application for the Forge Pond herbicide. So Forge Pond is in rougher shape in terms of aquatic invasives than Long Lake is. Even though we're requesting more money for Long Lake than Forge Pond's in rougher shape, but we have that 20,000 that's still allotted towards herbicide treatment at Forge Pond. So
So you're
originally,
taking that into account.
yes, originally we were thinking 52 for Forge and 42 for Long Lake, but we subtracted the 20,000 because we learned that we had those monies there allocated for that.
That's right, Lauren asked the question, yes.
Now, what about the Westford contribution?
Yeah, so just to speak to the taking out the 20,000 from the 50,000. We looked at the proposed budget for this year. And because we hadn't spent the 20,000 from last year, we said, well, maybe we don't need to be asking for as much for this year. And we left the 40,000 in what we had as our mitigation budget for the coming year, because we had originally planned on $100,000 of eco harvesting for this big treatment we're gonna do to see, you know, really how well does it work, right? Of which 20,000, almost 20,000 was coming from the water department. And we had 80,000 allocation from you. But then we were not able to use the money from the water department because we didn't have the permit in time to do it. So we lost that 20,000. And then we took out another 20,000 from the 80 to do the herbicide treatments, first of all, last summer, but now this summer, right? And so we said, let's leave the 40,000 in because that'll bring us back up to the 100,000 that we had originally indicated in the application to you for that 80,000 CPC allocation. We said we wanted to do $100,000 treatment. And so we left that in, but now that'll be back to 60,000.
So what, all right, I got a ice cream headache here. So are you saying that Clean Lakes had already decided what they wanted to do with that 20,000? So you feel like this 20,000 is being used by both parties?
We didn't have great communication as this was
Yeah.
being done, so
That.
our assessment that we'd leave in the 40,000 that was in the budget that was, you know, forwarded to the people that were working out what was actually feasible for this year, would we left that in because that would bring us up to, back up to 100,000 for, eco harvesting for next year. And we had the 20,000 for this year for, herbicides.
Okay.
But now, we so the current application is for 35 for this request plus 20 that we had already agreed with you that we were going to use for this summer. $55,000 treatment for the Littleton side of the lake for herbicides would probably need to include systemic herbicides as well as contact herbicides. Doing a simple contact herbicide probably wouldn't cost that much. We might use less than 55 and save some of that 20 to use next year for eco harvesting.
Right, so I think what we need, our direction has been that conservation is going to take care of, for Clean Lakes, is gonna take care of invasive stuff. So I think you guys need to talk to Conscom and talk about this, whether it's using, you know, I'm not quite sure I follow what you were just saying, but using the dollars that you have already allocated, which I can, you know, double check those and get those investment shelf for some balances. And
we have
what
80,000
you have here,
that's
yeah,
allocated.
so I think what we want is to, I mean, we have until the third Wednesday in March to get these through, so you do have some time. So, you know, Tim was gonna get the rest of them for the next meeting, so, you know, we've got boardwalks, which are easy. But I think you guys need to get in touch with Conscom or the other way around and work these through so that it's what Clean Lakes needs and what conservation is requiring. So Andrew and Tim, I don't know if you can make sure that happens.
We can certainly.
Well, I would also add with this, with the Forge Pond,
Yeah,
what
so-
Westford is gonna be.
Yeah, and will we
So-
know that we would, because you said you're going, do you know when you go to Westford CPC, do they move those ahead right away or?
So you were, I mean, we have the herbicide is being requested from them.
Yeah.
For this year. That's, I would say, 50-50 as to whether they would approve it. They've already expressed concern about, is this maintenance or not, right? And we've pointed out that we've never done it on the lake before, so this is really a chance to see how well does this work here. There are things on Forge Pond that don't apply to any of the other lakes that Westford funds and that have been using in the past. And also, you know, this isn't maintenance, it's preservation. So we have that discussion. So that's to be decided. The engineering study is, you know, I think in their bailiwick, I think that's probably likely. The management plan got moved into this fiscal year after Westford had already had their needs assessment meeting. And so we didn't go to them requesting the lake management plan funding from them. I hear what you're saying. It would be a good thing for them to fund. It may be that somebody like Friends of Forge Pond may be able to fund part of the plan.
But the management plan is 35 for the entire lake. So right now, if this all goes through, we would be paying for the entire management plan.
That's the way it's set up,
Okay.
yes.
And I have a problem with that. I don't know what the, division should be, but I I would suggest maybe we withhold our approval of that, subject to some other funding, being found for the rest of it. And I'm only doing this because we may have some open space opportunities coming up that will be precluded because of, you know, this.
Right.
When you take Forge Pond, do you like figure out like area and who owns what? I mean, like if we own 75% of the land and they own 25?
The lake is roughly half in each town. Yeah.
If,
Well, and then one more thing, and then the other thing you said that I want to pick up on is that I think it would be better to call it mitigation rather than herbicide,
Mhm.
because herbicide automatic, then, you know, Linda perks up and goes, what is this? And mitigation is you did it because it's more flexible, but also it's more marketable, you know, so,
It's less alarming.
yeah.
Tim?
Like Tim said, DCR really swears by herbicides.
Okay.
But we also have a lot of experience with, I mean, we have experience with people who have decades of time working with these things, which say that, you know, over time, that can be a problem, right? Using herbicides continually, you end up boxing yourself in where you have to use them, and it gets worse, actually.
Well,
So
but
it's not a complete, it's not the solution,
Right.
but it can be.
but
an
to
important
your
part of
credit,
it.
you're going after herbicides, you're going after eco harvesting, and you're going after the winter drawdown. So what more can you, I don't know, what more can you do?
Right.
Okay.
So, sorry, Tim, did you have something more you wanted to add?
yeah, just two things. One is just a question. So if Westford does not commit to funding the lake management plan 50/50, is this off the table and dead in the water with our CPC?
I think we could probably, I mean, we'll do our best, I would imagine, to reach out to Matt Salem and the gang over in Westford to see what their plans are. But yeah, how does the committee feel about, it's hard to do a plan for half a lake, right? But at the same time, you know, Jeff, you make a really good point. We're kind of holding the bag for the whole thing to Westford's advantage.
I think the plan is a great thing. But also the plan isn't, we've also established that we could do the mitigation independent of approving the plan, which could come. If it doesn't work out this season, come next season after you've had the chance to get Westford's.
Yeah, that's true, definitely true. The mitigation plans were moved forward in the 5-year budget because it was felt like there's a high priority to getting this assessment and getting the guidance on, you know, what are our best options. It may be, and some of us, I'm in addition to being a member of the Clean Lakes Committee, Littleton Clean Lake Committee, I'm a member of the Westford Healthy Ponds, Healthy Lakes and Ponds Collaborative. That group had funding for about 8 years, and for the last 3 years, they have relied on line items in the town budget. 3 years ago, they had $50,000, which was good. The last several years, they've had $5,000, which is not good. So if we needed to have matching funding for Littleton, it would probably need to come from somebody like Friends of Forge Pond.
Now, would they be willing to listen to something? I mean, how quickly could you find out from Friend of Forge Pond if they would be willing to, you know, what, 17.5 or whatever? Is that something you could get in the next couple of months, or?
Oh, yes,
Okay.
within the next,
If you tell them of our concerns, maybe, I mean, if,
yeah.
okay.
And it may be that we increase the amount that's going to be allocated or budgeted for the plan so that we have enough to do a watershed assessment. And then that larger amount gets split.
Can you do that before in the next month? I mean,
Yeah.
can you get a proposal for that? I mean, I appreciate that you're pushing for all this.
Yeah. I agree
But-
with you, Jeff.
It's a big ask.
Yeah,
I think that's a separate, like a watershed management plan is different than just a water body management plan. And I think it would certainly take me some time and back and forth with, DCR on what they would recommend be included in that. I don't think it's something that we would have overnight or could include in one big application with the lake management plans overnight.
Okay, so I think Clean Lakes, I think conservation, you understand where we're coming from, Jeff, I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
So, and we do have time, I mean, this is why it's nice to get these applications in a little early, because we have time to, go through this. So if you guys can get together with Clean Lakes and come up with, a plan that suits, both of your needs, and then come back either next month or, like I say, March. It would be great if you could do it next month so we could, again, kind of hash this through, but if, I understand that sometimes funding doesn't work. We would be meeting on March 18th and the warrant closes the next Monday, so we don't have a lot of time between the next meeting and that. We can always schedule real quick, if you want to come in on an off day, but it's so hard to get all of us together because everybody's on other committees. But Tim, you and I can keep in touch and see how things are progressing and,
so your next meeting is February 3rd.
no, February 18th.
Oh, February 18th.
February
Conscom is February 3rd.
conservation.
Oh, okay.
You guys meet every 2 weeks, right? So if you can't get them on.
Yeah, generally. Yep, twice a month.
Okay.
And have we voted on the eligibility or not?
Not, no, Forge Fund, we haven't voted. We didn't get that
Okay.
far. So we'll just
Just hold that off.
hold those two off. So we're good to go on Long Lake. Those will be recommended to town meeting. Tim, if you can just get me the corrected dollar figures on those.
Yep.
Anytime, just send them to me. That would be great. I think that's it.
Perfect. And so for Long Lake, am I correct in understanding you wanted Concom to review the wording for the project title?
Oh, right. Yes, we didn't vote on the herbicide. We voted on the,
Mitigation.
we didn't vote on the funding application because we want
Oh,
Clean Lakes and them to figure out exactly what they want. Thank you.
Aquatic invasive mitigation.
Yeah, however you wanna do it.
yeah. they wanna-
All
Well,
right.
I hope I'm gonna be at the next meeting because I'm taking the opportunity of the frozen Long Lake to walk along where the eutrophication is occurring, So, my dog's with me, he can maybe go for help, but it's pretty substantial at that end of the lake. I mean, it's, not gonna be there. Well,
All right, so hopefully everything goes well. Like I say, Tim just will be in touch, and Andrew, thank you. And
That's good.
Clean Lakes, we're getting there.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Tim.
Yep, have a good night.
You too.
All right, so that was the big, we just have a couple of more things if you'll indulge me. Budget discussion. I'm trying to I want to get the balances of some outstanding projects. Housing, there are two projects out there, the elderly heating and the roof replacement. These are now 10 years old. I don't know.
there's money for it, you mean?
There's
It's been allocated?
$31,000 sitting there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I know we talked about it last year and you said, well, maybe we should keep it for this, but I'm getting to we're getting to the point we probably should just rescind that back to housing. Or can you spend it?
Okay. I'll ask.
And that's the housing authority.
That's the housing authority, which has been in administrative chaos for the last
Yes.
year and a half.
Have they hired a director yet?
No?
Nope. Thanks, John and Dave.
Bye.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
John. Thanks, Dave.
See you next time.
Okay, yeah, so if you can think that, there's also, like $4,400 in the Long Lake Reno Fund from 2019. I think I'm gonna talk to Alicia, Dave from Park and Rec and try to get, if they have a project that they need done, they should just come back to us. That's getting, I don't mind stringing it for a little bit.
So that process would be we don't need to get that approved at town meeting.
Yes,
It's
we
just
do.
oh,
Yeah, we do. We have to get
Okay.
rescinded back into the
Okay.
bucket it came from. We did a few of them last year and just to clean up some of the old stuff that's sitting there.
Right, so they don't they don't lose it, they just.
Find
Yeah,
another use
it's
for
just
it.
for,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
that project, but those are getting so old.
I don't know what you could do for $31,000 these days in any significant way in terms of the housing.
Replace a couple boilers maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was elderly heating was about 25,000 and roof replacement was 6,250.
Was the heating for support, like,
It was replacing,
Oh,
we,
okay.
they
Replacing
replacing
failed boilers.
Mhm.
Hmm.
I mean, if there's something to spend it on, because it's not a ton of money, so it would just be, like I said, just
Can
be
you
good
give me
to,
those two numbers again?
yeah.
24,996.
And then next month, February, we have to vote our allocations
Mm.
for the 1% and the state match, so, I guess Linda and Bartlett, you guys have your constituent boards and Andrew, Conservation, Open House, if there's any changes or
Thanks.
what, and, I'm not sure when we get the estimate for the state match, but we'll find out shortly, I think. So we will have to put that on the agenda for next month. We'll need that. One of the items I had on the list were the gravestone repair, and I talked to Andrew in the hallway the other day, and we're kind of one application ahead or one funding round ahead, so we won't be bringing one to this town meeting this time. We still have money to
by the
pay
way,
for the
on that
rest.
subject, there's someone on Instagram who's doing New England gravestones. That's just really interesting.
Mhm.
And there's one that he did that I saw recently, and he was lately focusing on where they've described how the people died,
Oh,
which is
yeah.
sort of gruesome.
Oh, wow.
Wagon of logs fell on him, type
Yeah.
thing. But anyway, it seemed familiar, and I was wondering if there's he didn't identify where they were from.
Yeah, there's a couple of Facebook groups that have the
Yeah,
same
maybe
kind
it's-
of, probably all the same. Interesting. That stuff is fun. I don't know if anyone has any other budgets or projects in the pipeline, Bartlett.
I do, I have a draft eligibility request, I haven't finalized the numbers, I have to go back to, but, to replenish the Littleton Rental Assistance Program funds. We're trying to, last year we set up a number of $120,000 for a budget, and we spent some of that. So, I'm assuming that we're gonna keep the same $120,000. And by subtracting what we've spent, I'm gonna ask for, we spent, $71,387 supporting 18 families in the last fiscal year. So I'm gonna ask for $48,613 to bring us up to 120. So I have a draft here. I hope I'm gonna present the same thing. And when I come back with a full the package. But I think this is what we're gonna do.
Are you noticing an increase or a decrease in demand, or?
There's the number of people that have applied or will apply for renewal is, I think it's 7 altogether. So that's gonna bring our number, I mean, our number's gonna go down because we have more than that. We have many that are not eligible to renew. We don't know what's gonna happen in the spring. I emailed Amy today, and she said that she thought that the number of applications would go down for the whole year, but she's gonna be talking to people who know who's hurting in town, and she thought that they might be able to, I mean, Littleton Green and Pondside both have, and Pond View all have subsidized housing elements, and if the managers there know somebody who needs help, then they'll go to Amy and they'll eventually come to us. So it's real, I don't really know.
Just curious.
And the economy, you know, who
I
knows?
know, but
So,
Well, I mean, I appreciate you looking at what you have left over and not just asking for the same thing over.
I've been told I can't ask.
And I appreciate that you follow the direction. I was trying to be nice. Yeah, no, it's just, I guess I would expect, but nothing else, nothing.
The other thing that, Maren Tudhill brought up a couple of times is that, there's a housing, I think it's a housing production plan that the town does every few years, and the last one was, I think, 2018. And the housing production situation in Littleton has changed drastically since 2018, so she wants to have a new housing production plan done. And is estimating that the cost for that will be a ballpark $50,000. And she wanted me to bring a question to this board of, since it's a housing thing, she thinks that it should come out of that housing bucket somehow, but whether it should come out of undesignated funds or if it should come out of the housing bucket is something I think that, you know, where that money comes from or how much of it we're willing to cough up. I think that's the question.
well, but that's assuming that it's funded by the CPC at all.
Yeah.
Right, that's kind
Which
of
is
my
another
question, is
I
that,
think we've done that.
is
We
that
have
sort
we
of,
have done it in the past.
we have
Yeah.
under CPC?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
it
that's
was
an eligibility thing about, you know, is it eligible? I mean, if we've done it in the past, is that considered
It's
maintenance?
precedence,
I
but
don't
we could
Yeah,
certainly discuss its eligibility again.
Yeah, with the housing category so broad too, I mean, in terms of supporting housing, I mean, we definitely have the precedent of, you know, creating plans to guide us. And I mean, I think it'd be easy to argue that it's supporting housing through guiding, you know, the town.
Yeah, we
Well-
do the regional housing service, the MAPC used to do, is that the same?
That's who we would
Similar?
hire to do it, probably.
Yeah, I think so.
And the reason why we do them is to aid in getting grants.
Yeah.
And maybe we would need Maren to explain to us specifically why we would need to pay for that. I think it should, in my view, if we pay for it, it should come from housing.
Yeah.
Once again, I'm trying to protect open space and undesignated, you know, for major projects that might come.
Mhm. So just remind me, housing has its support, we can do support for housing, right?
Yes.
Yes, yeah, that's like the one.
That's the one.
Andrew, did you have something for?
Oh, no, sorry. I was just going to thank Jeff for helping to look after my open space.
You know, All right, well, that's good. We can look into it. I mean, I don't know if that's the
Yeah,
same as the
okay.
regional housing services and then. I mean, we can certainly hear it and.
Yeah.
We'll bring it up at the next
Yeah.
planning board meeting, which is
Hmm,
next week.
It's getting changed, isn't it?
Well, we're keeping the 29th, but we're not
Oh,
gonna
we
do
are.
the
The fifth?
5th and do that the 11th. If that's okay.
Okay.
my God.
Is Wapoli gonna show up on the 29th?
Yes,
Okay,
that's mainly that.
okay. Cause I thought the request was for them to delay it.
But that's for the apartments.
Oh, that's all, okay. It's not, great, thank you.
Okay. Anything else, Linda? Did you
Yeah.
have any?
Well, there's probably at least one small project from historical projects. There's a couple of, how we had CPC funding last year for new markers, historic markers. The markers get put on these, now they're concrete. I mean, the plaques get put on concrete markers. A couple of the concrete markers are not in good shape. One of them at least has sort of, we think, sunk into the ground. We think maybe we can pull it up and make it not so low to the ground. So there'll probably be one or two either new markers or rehabilitating the existing markers. That's one smaller project. And then at our next meeting next month, the historical commission will talk about other possible projects. We'll let you know.
So we still have a little bit of time. but- Mhm. Anything else? Anyone else have any words of wisdom? Preservation wise?
Greenland.
Yeah. So our next meeting will be on,
In Greenland?
Littleton's Greenland. On February 18th, and it sounds like we're going to have some things to do, so, we'll reconvene then. So if there's nothing else, do I have a motion to adjourn?
And I so move.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Okay.
All right, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Andrew.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Good night.